Happy Monday. It is March 16th, 2026, and time for your Monday Market Update. I'm Miranda Alt.
And I'm Andrew Smart.
Thanks so much for watching. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow to those Irish friends of ours. I'm wearing the only green thing that I own. And we are home today because we have a snow day. So welcome to March in Chicagoland. So before we dive into to what's happening in our market, let's take a quick look at our McHenry County numbers for the last 7 days. We had 124 new listings, 151 under contract, 85 closed sales, 29 price changes, 3 expireds, and 49 currently on the private market. Now, Andrew, we will dive into these numbers in just a moment, but first we want to talk about interest rates. What's going on that aspect?
Yeah, so this past week we saw mortgage rates tick up slightly based on the conflict in Iran currently. They went from 6.01, basically 6 to 6.11, which has sparked a lot of headlines to adjust. They've gone up tremendously. But if we really take a look at the previous months, they were about 6.65 this time last year, so up a whole 0.5%, and have remained between 6.15 and 5.99 from January until now. This entire year they've remained between, like I said, 6.11 to 5.99.
Yeah, so the news is the job of the news is if it bleeds, it leads. So they always want to cause fear and pandemonium and spark a lot of interest. And so the headlines are always going to be designed to sort of create fear. The reality is that interest rates are still low, especially considering where they were this time last year.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, oil prices have been driven up based on the fact that the Middle East is the world's biggest supplier of oil, and it's been driving up inflation between multiple industries the last week here. So kind of still up in the air, to be honest with you, but it is not as bad as it seems currently that the headlines are making it out to be.
Right, and that's the main message that we want to get out to our people is that yes, they're up slightly. I mean, if you look at the curve, it looks like, oh my gosh, yeah, they're up crazy from last week, but it's still so low compared to where they were last year. And the trend is still going to be heading down for the year overall. So we still think that we'll end up in the mid fives potentially by the end of the year. Of course, no promises on that, and Iran is going to dictate a lot of that. And if we dive into what we were seeing in the numbers from McHenry County for the last 7 days, I mean, under contract numbers are way higher than newly listed. And as we've talked about before, Andrew, those newly listed ones could be price changes. They could be they could be ones that went to the market and then closed right away because they sold on the private market. Because of course we've talked about over 40% of the listings that are out there right now are on the private market, and many of them are selling there. Andrew, you had 2 open houses this weekend. Tell people a little bit what the activity was like there.
Yeah, I mean, they were both pretty busy, and we had totally different price points. We had a townhome at 350, and we had a big single-family home that was around 650, 660 as well. So 2 totally different price points, but they were both very busy. I think I had around at least 10 groups for both, if not more. And I think something very interesting that I heard from multiple people was they're finally kind of coming out the woodworks here, and they bought in about 2018, between like 2018 and 2020, and they've been waiting, and they're finally at that point where, you know, look, my lease is up in August, and I'm starting to look now, you know, things are kind of more comfortable, more financially stable, which is what they've been waiting for, and they're finally at that point where it's just time to go. It's just time to go.
So someone who bought and then they are now deciding that either interest rates are low enough to where they feel comfortable, or they were renting and now they feel like interest rates are low enough. So buyers are definitely out there looking. I know we've had a ton of activity on all of our listings. And what I've noticed is kind of interesting is buyers are out looking, but they're still being cautious.
Very.
We still have a listing that I thought was going to sell and we'd have multiple offers by today. We don't have offers yet. I think they're coming, but people are still kind of taking their time and wanting to make sure that they're not making any rash decisions. So cautious buyers, very anxious, still looking. It's taking market times a little bit longer, so homes are taking a little bit longer to sell. However, lots of activity, lots of buyers in the market. And I think these, you know, depending on what interest rates do this week, we've got a lot of numbers coming out this week that will affect that as well in terms of job numbers and some inflation reports that will affect those interest rates as well. So we'll have to watch that, but we'll be back next week and we'll see how it all plays out. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.